October 25th, 2023. As you're looking at an update this morning, notice your timestamp bottom left, but Turkey's President Erdogan has moved to the final phase of the Turkish plan for Gaza. He says Hamas is not a terrorist organization, but a patriotic organization of liberators. And that's kind of how the entire Middle East feels right now, with the continued bombing going on in the Gaza Strip and hundreds of civilians being killed on a daily basis. There are probably close to 6,000 now. Half of them children, the other half elderly and women, and you got some troops involved in there. But it looks like Hamas is, in a sense, using human shields as they hide in the tunnels and other places. Some of them have been captured, I realize that. But what's important now is pretty much biblical. Let's read what he's saying. But notice Erdogan is holding a map. This goes back a while, and it's showing that Israel, which is the green, white areas, Hamas, Palestine is green. And as it goes forward, you can see this one is 1949 to 1967. Israel has taken all of this section. You've got the Gaza Strip left there and the West Bank here. Now, right now, you can see the Gaza. This is the more modern map, or the latest one, and very little left of the West Bank settlements here because there's so many Israeli settlements being built there. But they're talking about the final phase of the Turkish plan. And what they're talking about is the strategic defeat of Israel in order to implement this Turkish plan, guys. They're saying that the Turkish president, Erdogan, has decided to kill, this time for good, relations with Israel, describing Hamas as a patriotic organization of warriors, or the Mujahideen, fighting to protect its land and people. Erdogan is entering the final phase of Turkey's plan to defeat Israel in the upcoming Arab-Israeli war in order to sit at the negotiating table and force the establishment of a Palestinian state. There, Turkey intends to be declared as a guarantor country of the new Palestinian state, along with Egypt and perhaps Saudi Arabia. It is no coincidence that Erdogan today once again called for the establishment of an independent Palestine and the organization of a conference between Israel and Palestinians, proposing Turkey as the guarantor of any future agreement. He then added that the West is beholden to Israel, talking about us and parts of Europe, but he says not Turkey, while also announcing that he will not visit Israel. His proposal for Gaza says, number one, full ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Number two, negotiations to immediately facilitate the release of prisoners of war. Humanitarian corridor to Gaza is number three. And number four is a regional conference on Palestine. That humanitarian corridor is important to a lot of people in the Middle East right now because people are on the verge of starving, no water, no electricity, and no way out. Guys, something very important is they're talking about freezing the energy talks on the natural gas pipeline with Israel. Now, you've got the Leviathan system setting out in the Mediterranean and a couple of other ones there, and it feeds both north, south, and east. Some of that's already been cut off down into the Gaza area. And this video, by the way, is not about choosing sides. It's about addressing the reality on the ground that everyone on the planet needs to be aware of. It says the entire West has joined Israel in viewing Hamas as a terrorist organization. Israel, the West may owe you a lot, but Turkey owes you nothing. This is Erdogan. It says, Israel, you can't go anywhere with this mentality. At the same time, he did not fail to mention that Turkey, again, is ready to be the guarantor country for Palestine, both with political and military presence. In a world full of the living dead, we will continue to speak the truth and implement political and even military measures if necessary. We will do everything we can. We will not compromise. He said, first, we looked at the Palestinian issue from a human perspective. We defended human life since October 7th. We have been making every effort to prevent the crisis from escalating. We sent 8 planes full of humanitarian aid to meet the needs of the people of Gaza. We sent 25 of our staff to Egypt to treat the wounded. We stated that we do not justify actions and attacks targeting civilians. We know that on October 7th. Civilians in Israel were attacked. And the latest numbers I've gotten, it may be low, but around 1,400 Israelis have lost their life, and we're, again, around 6,000, from what I understand, Palestinians, many women and children there. Again, I don't know how many Hamas troops have surrendered. I have seen one video, I think, with maybe 100 or 200 kind of pinned down, and they came out. Probably that's where Israel's getting a lot of info. Now, Erdogan continues. He said, "We have no problem with the state of Israel, but we have never approved of being treated like an organization instead of a state. Israel is carrying out one of the most violent attacks in history against the oppressed people of Gaza. Half of the dead are children. The other half are their mothers and fathers and family elders. This alone is enough to show that there was an atrocity. You cannot find another army that sets fires to hospitals, places of worship, and markets and continue this inhumane act." Now, other nations have been involved in this mass killing during wars. You remember Iraq, you remember Vietnam, Korea, World War I and World War II. Think about it. He said, "Israel is killing children. We can never allow that. I said this to then President ministers in Davos. I said, you know very well how to kill. I haven't been to Davos since that day. I shook Netanyahu's hand once in my life in Turkey and America. He abused our goodwill. We had a plan to go to Israel, but we canceled it. They, again, abused the goodwill. Oh, Israel, you cannot go anywhere with this mindset." That's a repeat of the first part of this. And what they're talking about is you're about to be shut down. It says, "Take either the U.S. or the West with you. America will also lose. The whole point is to establish a just world. No one can sleep peacefully in a world where parents hold their children's bodies." Seeing a lot of that on video, it goes both ways. The Israelis can't deal with that, and the Palestinians can't deal with their dead children either. Who can on this planet? It's very hard to do. It says it also applies to any country where there is no barrier. It is time to speak about the plight of those who turn their backs on the truth with acts that cannot be compared to these massacres. Justifying attacks is the West's legacy from its bloody history. In his furious speech, Erdogan said, referring to Israeli attacks on Gaza in retaliation for a bloody attack by Hamas on October 7th, "You will not find any state whose army behaves with such inhumanity." And then he called for an immediate end to the fire and declared that Muslim countries must take action for sustainable peace. And he attacked Western powers who shed tears for Israel and do nothing else, lambasting their inability to restrain Israel. The fact that those who mobilize the world in favor of Ukraine have not spoken about the massacres in Gaza and the most blatant witness of their hypocrisy. Innocents will continue to die in Gaza. No ship or aircraft sent to our region will bring peace. Earlier he said that an Israeli ground operation in Gaza would turn fighting in the Strip into a massacre, adding that those who support Israel's action and solidarity support its crimes, and warned the world that the only possible outcomes of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict are permanent peace or world war. You know, and it's surprising to me, and I've got to be honest about it, and many of you probably feel the same way. In the last several years, we've seen a lot of crap go on by the U.S. administration. I mean, against us, the people. Now, when you talk about them going in and doing it to other people, oh, it's holy and mighty, right? The mighty U.S. war machine. But at the same time, the border's open. They're taxing you to death. They're killing the economy. Don't you see where the real enemy is? Just saying, guys. Don't come on here and say I'm pro-Palestinian. I'm pro-peace. I'm pro not killing innocents. Anybody that does that is not human. Both sides. Both sides. President of Turkey is also speaking by phone with his Russian counterpart, Putin. And it's about this war. It says, as the Turkish presidency announced, the two leaders discussed the course of the escalating conflict between Israel and Palestine and the humanitarian crisis in the region. Erdogan pointed out that the brutality against the Palestinian territories is deepening and civilian deaths are increasing every minute. The president stated that the silence of the Western countries is making the humanitarian crisis in Gaza more difficult. Also, the Turkish president told Putin that Turkey will continue to make every effort to ensure calm in the region. And they're saying in Turkey that either a truce will come or Turkey will intervene in every cruel and effective way. He accused the Islamic States of doing nothing whenever the Turkish people should do something in Gaza. The security of Ankara starts from Jerusalem. They're saying 24 hours has passed. The Republic of Turkey must be ready and determined for any kind of intervention and struggle in the name of humanity and cultivate the climate of peace and solutions. If we have to go to Gaza, no one should worry. With the help of God, with the admiration of Al-Aqsa Mosque, we know very well to go wherever we need to, and that too before dawn. Let the children not die. Let the babies and women not die. May the tyrants be destroyed. Curse the slaughterers. There is no hope for the Islamic Conference. No result came from the Cairo Peace Conference on Gaza. At the same time, Devlet Bahçeli in his post, this is Turkey, calls for the immediate intervention in the Gaza Strip in the event that Israel attacks do not stop within the next 24 hours. As a nationalist movement, our decision is the following. If the ceasefire is not reached within 24 hours from today, if the attacks do not stop, if the bombs continue to fall on the oppressed, then Turkey should immediately intervene and do what is necessary based on the historical, humanitarian, and religious responsibilities. It is the legacy of our ancestors to preserve and protect Gaza. Again, 24-hour thing. He said we can be there by dawn. That close and that powerful. But again, guys, I'm not choosing a side here. I'm telling you what the situation is. So take it as that, as news. You make up your mind if you want to choose sides or not. I choose peace and life and human liberty. We're watching it. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.